What's up, aliens and earthlings? This is Kontact Pluto. I'm Kontact the Capricorn, and this is Pluto the Scorpio. We are coming to you live-ish, we're recording at least, from the Kontact Pluto studios, aka my bedroom. Is located in the wintry east coast of Canada. It's actually snowing tonight as well. Like I said, I thought we had a bullshit technical mishap. Actually, I'd like to take a moment and send out a fuck you to GoPro. A GoPro, we have is the GoPro Hero or something? It's not much of a fucking hero. They're more of a villain, I guess. Yeah, well, or an Omega. Yeah. That'll be funnier later. But anyways, it's a hunk of shit. I honestly, I don't advise buying it because it is fucking trash. Trash.
Fucking that shit.
It's given us so many problems. It recorded properly the first night, and then after that, we've had nothing but issues. The second episode had to be all audio because that thing just overheated, fucked off, and just fuck it. Anyways, let's get to the context of the video.
The nitty gritty.
Slide
right into that crevice.
This week, Jules and I came across a video called the Socio Sexual Hierarchy. Now, this video is made by a guy named Vox Day. What's his YouTube channel?
Voxversity.
So we'll put a link in the descriptions. Also, we'll throw a picture up of this guy too, because he's a funny looking guy. I was thinking he looked like an alien. It's just occurred to me too out when I was having a smoke. I don't know if you ever saw those videos of that guy who does all the drug stuff, and he's super conscious about copyright. He's putting 6 different copyright.
Substance? The guy with the bald head?
Yeah, that guy. He looks like that guy mixed with a dash of Aleister Crowley. That's how I kind of I think that kind of
That's a pretty good comparison there.
So this guy, Vox Day,
shout out to Psych Substance too.
Yeah, shout out that guy. He does some interesting stuff. Vox Day. So Vox Day is not a complete retard. He broke down the social sexual hierarchy, which consists, to him at least, of 5 different categories. Now, the 5 categories are alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and omega. So I'm just going to run through briefly of what those are. If you want a more in-depth, detailed definition of each subcategory, you can obviously watch this video, of which I think we said already, we'll be putting a link in the descriptions. So I'm going to go from top to bottom, and this is how they are. You picture a pyramid, I guess, whatever you want, but alpha would be the top. So alpha, he talked a lot about alpha being very status conscious. That's one thing that stuck out to me, at least. Alpha's probably one most people have heard of. The other ones, maybe not so much, but alpha is basically like a leader of a pack. He's, you could see kind of management types, or
takes all the responsibilities. Like you said, the leader, pretty much straightforward like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Would you kind of say maybe more so business owner than manager? Just because managers sometimes, I don't know. I suppose managers...
in the situation of my own father, he's definitely an alpha person and a business owner and an entrepreneur. I feel like those things kind of all tie in with each other. They're not necessarily meaning the same thing, but they're definitely a byproduct of being an alpha.
Yeah, I would almost say it's not... just because I think sometimes managers, they get put... I've worked for some fucking retired managers, so that's why I don't really feel completely accurate saying that managers are always alphas, but it could be sometimes so. But anyways, for the sake of the definition, they are leader types. They could be managers. I'm thinking more so business owners, whatever. We can delve into that more later. So after alpha, it goes beta. Now, beta, what they described it as was followers. But I was talking, we were kind of shooting the shit about this earlier. Whenever I heard the term beta, it was usually reference into, liberals, like liberal propagandists saying all this shit. You got to be saying special words for special people because they got special needs and got to feel special ways. Just headaches to me. I don't know. All these words,
Definitely.
I don't even know what mansplaining. You ever hear that word? Ridiculous ass word.
Couple times.
So, they basically... I guess they're kind of fictitious. I always think liberals are fictitious. I don't actually believe they exist. I've never really met one. I've heard them talked about on the internet, and then you see these weird clips of basically I would say insecure university kids. They just don't know where they fit, and they just hop on bandwagons, and they're like, you can't say this. She has the right to think she's a moose.
And they're automatically put into the left wing category because they're not right winged, right?
Yeah, I suppose automatically, but I mean, it's automatically also by choice, really, because
Especially
they
like
pursue that.
millennials too. Like we are definitely seen as libertarians because of what we grew up on and what uh, we kind of put out there in the media.
Yeah,
Things
because
like that.
I always kind of thought, at least growing up, for me, we're gonna tangent on this a bit, but
Yeah.
I always thought liberal was really more so my political views and when I was younger, when I didn't know anything about liberal or conservative. So I
Yeah.
always thought liberal was like a free thinking, encouraged free thought. I know it was just it wasn't as strict. And then as I got older, I realized that well, how I kind of understand is liberals are almost just like they'll blow the doors off anything. I like they
Oh
always
yeah.
put throw out the baby with the bathwater. I've heard Gavin McInnes say this a bunch when he
Yeah.
talks with the
Same with
liberals.
Jordan Peterson. He does. He says the same
Says
thing.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So liberals just kind of
Catch a phrase there.
well, they get the notion in their mind that they're like whatever they have is right, and it's usually underthought. I would say actually always underthought. I've never heard a liberal that was, sophisticatedly intelligent or complex who could understand much.
Would you say there's more liberal extremists compared to conservatives?
Absolutely, man. But the computer, the internet, they would want you to believe that there's more conservative extremists. I don't know. If you see a conservative extremist, usually they're not a conservative extremist. They're just a fucking full-blown psychopath. Like they're just gonna bomb something. I don't know. Terrorize the hit some bejesus out of something. But yeah, so I don't know. But then they get lumped in the conservatives. Probably just the liberals, man. The liberals are the ones always complaining, grasping at straws. I feel just fucking get their points across. Anyways, that's enough of a tangent on that. I guess what I was trying to describe is the beta category. So the beta category is not the crazy ass liberals. It is the followers. So they're followers
Of the alphas.
of the alphas. Good.
They're
good.
basically connected to the alphas. They're always around them, and they kind of look like alphas sometimes too. But they
Yeah.
don't have the same responsibilities as the alphas do.
True. And I guess one thing that this social sexual hierarchy tied in a lot was looks and appearances. So like that kind of created a flaw in some of these things because
Definitely.
any of these subcategories you could have a good looking person. Also, this strictly applies to males too. We were just talking that I never really heard of a social sexual hierarchy for females. I don't know if one exists. I've not come across it. We didn't Google it, so I
No,
mean,
we didn't.
we don't really fucking know. But
Sue us.
yeah, sue the pants off us. But if you guys have heard or come across any type of videos like that, you feel free to post in the comments below.
Yeah.
Get at us, let us know, because it'd be interesting to see if such a dynamic works with females. What's interesting too, I mean, I think I'm just spitballing this off the top of my head, but in the future we might get some guests on and do some sort of things like this. So maybe we'll get a couple females on and see what they think about this, see if this even exists. Because when I was going through this, I was sort of wondering if these things, how much women would actually think about this. But we'll get into this later. Let me get through. Okay, so the alpha is leader. Beta is kind of like their best friend, a follower. But beta is also attractive to females in a sense. So I always thought beta was kind of like just weird, kooky people with strange, stupid ideas. Yeah. And then they just, were kooks, basically.
And the guy running the video, he also mentioned that he had thought that betas were, if not the best part to be in the social hierarchy.
True, yeah.
Because they don't have the same responsibilities, like I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And they're still seen as alphas.
Yeah, true. That's
even though they are following behind.
Yeah, they're following, but they're still just as decide, which is kind of contradictory, at least to my previous notion of
that could play into like status and how you're seen in society, what your clothing, what kind of clothing you're wearing, things like that. These are all defining factors of what show your status and value.
Yes, yeah, true. So yeah, because he really said it more on kind of a status thing, because obviously these things can get pretty meta, like they can get pretty.
Definitely.
To describe your inner character, it's a little bit tricky with these, but in terms of an outer appearance, I guess this is what he's going for. So, beta. And then the next one was delta. So delta is kind of just the worker bee. Really, a delta is not kind of doesn't have his head wrapped around being a leader or being a follower. Like these kind of maybe more philosophical ideas, they don't really run through their mind as much as they just like to do good work. They're very competent. It's the thing that they stress in the video.
That's that's the number one thing is with the deltas. They're very competent and they can be seen as alphas. But when they're put into a big category, they move back down to the delta level because they can't compete with the bigger alphas.
Yeah, true. They're not so much of a leader type, but they can be just a leader in the sense like they'd be so good at their craft or so good at whatever they do. They really take pride in their craftsmanship or their competence to do the work that they're trying to do.
But typically your average dude or guy.
Yeah. I almost don't even want to say that because how many shit workers have you met?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do they fall?
But if competence is definitely something that's an alpha or a delta trait, then that's what kind of ties in with that.
Yeah, because I would almost lean more to the notion that betas are more of the average than a delta. Only in the regard of work, like quality to work. I guess I have like a ridiculous sense of your capacity for work, like your competence in work. There's enough people. You've probably come across me say this where I see somebody.
I hire people at my work all the time. I am the middleman between me and the boss. So
true. So
and I technically am a boss.
Well, yeah, you are. Like absolutely. So you would probably see then like workers. It's tricky because you can get workers who are good socially and kind of boost the morale, but they may not be as good as somebody who's like really good at the work, but just kind of maybe nerdy or I don't know, like socially awkward, I guess.
Well, you get to have a feel for someone after a while and see how well they work with others or how good they are at their job, and you kind of play with those kind of variations.
Yeah, because what I was sort of thinking is somebody who is very, very competent at their work, I automatically associate that with a bit of social awkwardness. That's how I kind of read into the Delta thing, at least. Is like if you're a Delta, you were just so consumed with your work that you weren't trying to be, supportive of others or playful or, socially pleasant, we'll put, for lack of any other word. Yeah. So that's Delta. Give you a quick idea. Delta's kind of the worker bee, the craftsman, really takes pride in the work. And of course, these are how Vox Day has described these things. So they're kind of new concepts to me. I'd never heard about Delta previous to this, so it was an interesting subcategory of the male potentials in the social sexual hierarchy. So anyways, that wraps up Delta. Gamma. Now Gamma was, he kept using Michael Scott clips when he was explaining Gamma. So he said a gamma is...
just a funny comment I'd like to point out here.
What do you say?
Is wow, that sounds stressful. Glad I'm a girl.
Yes, yeah. So on the video, this, some girl is obviously watching this, and she's like, fucking thank God I don't got to deal with that. And I feel your sister on that, Christ. But, so gamma, what they mentioned largely was that they're introspective. They're more sensitive, and they're usually fairly intelligent. But they have a need to be respected for their intelligence, which kind of shoots their intelligence in the foot, really. They, they may have super good ideas, but when they get into a situation where their ideas may be taken seriously, they would probably behave kind of childishly, like, oh, it was me who came up with that idea. Obviously, they're not going to say that specifically, but that's going to be kind of their demeanor. They're going to be very... very excited that their work gets taken respectfully, and they're more prone to meltdowns, is what they said. So if they've been working on something, religiously, maybe like a Delta, but they've conceived a few new ways to do it, and they're doing it, and it works really well, but nobody else is taking it on, they may, that would be really an issue for them if they're not seen as... kind of the conceivers of this new notion or this new innovation, they can be quite upset by that. So it causes some issues. They also talked about being narcissistic. Now, for me, narcissism is, I would say, a good quality most of the time. I really think a large portion of life is about self-improvement, and to be a narcissist, at least in the definitions that people fucking sling with narcissism, it's really self-obsessed. And I don't really see anything wrong with self-obsession. But if you're self-obsessed and you don't notice your own flaws or blind spots and you don't work on fixing those and making them better, then you're basically just a piece of shit. You're not really a narcissist, or you're an inefficient narcissist, at least. A good dash, at least, a narcissism is good for everybody. Maybe not full blown, but
a couple sprinkles here and there.
Exactly.
Keep yourself in check
Yeah,
You know, that's pretty
it's
much it.
you. It's you controlling you. You know, so you got to
At
be
the end of
paying
the day,
attention
hell
to
yeah.
yourself. You know, and if that's narcissistic, well, sue me, sue us again. We're lining up for a lawsuit, I think here, Jules. Anyways, so the last category is Omega. Now, Omega was basically the complete social outcast, the
Yeah, the
weirdo.
person that's not invited to the parties.
Yeah,
You know, at the end of the day, like no, like there's the people that they are invited last to the parties. He's the person that they didn't even think about inviting at all.
no, this is
the way they kind of described it in the video.
typical like weirdo, and not weirdo in the eccentric genius sense. Weirdo in the like I'll probably touch your children sense sort of thing. You know,
Exactly.
it's these kind of creeps. You know, if any of them are watching this right now, they're obviously not pleased I said any of that, but hopefully they can't find out my address. So that solves Omega. So Omega's just basically, he mentioned school shooter when he was mentioning Omega. Omega's just the outcast. You know, I think we've all probably
or never had a intimate relationship with women ever.
Well, we got word this E40 way. Omegas ain't had pussy since pussy had heat. That's fucking E40 with the lines. But yeah. I know. Catch that. So, yeah, Omegas are just not very good at social situations at all. Doesn't mean all of them are psychopaths. That's not what it means. It just means that they're, you know, they're very lone wolf, and not because they want to be, just because they can't figure out how to be. So, yeah, obviously a bit of an unfortunate situation, but it takes all sorts to run these fucking sports, I guess.
Exactly.
So, anyways, that categorizes them.
Yeah.
So. I think what we wanted to kind of touch on was this video. It really just categorized them, and then I don't know if this guy didn't conceive the notion, but he didn't really talk about how people could be kind of a combo effect.
Yes.
Now, I think that idea maybe inspired both in us.
From the first perspective, though, I can see what he's trying to do with like classifying them, and I'm sure at some point during there is a quintessential. I believe there's a quintessential person for each category. There's definitely that perfect type of person that would be described as that. But most of us are not that. We have we're constantly a percentage, probably across the board, out of all those things. We have little bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah, we all got a little bit of school shooter in us.
A little bit.
But yeah, it is a good point, right? Because he didn't really touch on that too much, did he?
He just kind of like identify who you are and try to better yourself.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if he was just
that video. Yeah.
You think he was just kind of doing that for the sake of the video, or did you think that thought even crossed his mind? Because I'm a little.
I don't know. I think he was just trying to like showcase his ideology of how this works.
Yeah. Yeah. Just really fucking put that out there, cut and dry like that, not delve into it too much. So, I guess with any ideology, it's good to kind of pick it apart and see how applicable it is, how practical, how fucking realistic or not realistic it is. Because one thing we kind of thought about amongst ourselves, I think it inspired this idea a bit, was when I went through these, I was like, okay, I could see myself a bit in one category, but a bit with another. So like I didn't feel like I was completely solely one. And then
and I felt the exact same way. I'm the very first person that like thought about. I shouldn't say that, but like between me and you, we thought about the percentages and how like it's just a very different.
Yeah, split it like that because it makes more sense when you look at them as you are, maybe 2 or 3 at once rather than just one solely. Yeah. So what I thought was a good example was your dad seems to me like a very typical alpha. Like he fits that category pretty well, and so for him. I know, I'd be curious if he watched this video what he would think of these things, because I would kind of classify him as that. And then I think my dad, I would classify him primarily Delta. Then maybe a dash of Gamma or something like that, but mostly Delta.
And we did mention prior to this, like being a father, you definitely have you're going to basically access a little bit of that alpha quality. It's little sprinkles here and there, because just being a father on its own, you're gonna have to step up to the plate and take care of a child. Not right? Always necessarily like that's the way it's gonna be, but like that's very a defining factor.
It does. I mean, it
father
instills
how you can be. Yeah,
true. It instills a sense of responsibility in your life.
Defining factor of how good of a father you can be.
Well, like, well, I think what you're saying initially works pretty well, because if you have a kid, then it's like that's responsibility right there.
Yeah.
If you want to.
And that's what alpha is about taking the responsibility of your actions.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, well, one thing I kind of like to say is with alpha, I mean, I really didn't have too much knowledge of this kind of stuff going into it. Like, I've heard of the alpha, and like I've watched some, like a bit, sometimes I'll watch some of these like dating scheme sort of things, like pickup artists, and they, you know, just talk out their fucking arse about being alpha, being alpha, being alpha. You look at some of these fucking shitbags, and I don't know where they got the notion who, you know, that they're alpha, but I'd love to meet the magician that tricked them into thinking they were. You know, so that's...
in that community, they definitely describe the alpha as being the person that is directing everyone else, like being a leader.
Yeah.
It's similar to what they're saying there, but not exactly.
I suppose, too, it's not really fair, because the focus of those videos are primarily getting laid. So, like, in terms of that context, you probably want to be the alpha.
I'm not sure if you touched on this when you were describing the alpha, but in the video, he had mentioned that they're more socially, or they're more aware of their own status.
Yes, yeah.
They know what place they are in society and what they bring to the table. And that's a very strong characteristic of being an alpha, is like knowing your worth and value, even if it's more than what you actually are.
Yeah, but just even being conscious about that, because I mean, some people, maybe that's not a thing. I think of that as a very Capricorn trait, just in terms of the status, not like the necessarily alphaness. But one thing that I'll drag everything back to astrology because I can. But one thing they do say about Capricorns is its public image. So Capricorn is not necessarily going to be an alpha, but they're always aware of how they are perceived to the outer world. And it is something that they work on. So they want to be perceived as what they want to be perceived. You know, it may not necessarily be head honcho of an organization. It could just be a really skilled craftsman, or it could be something else. I don't know. You know, they're very delta in a sense, because they do work hard towards whatever they want to achieve. But I'll stop drawing the line to astrology. But that just kind of put the bug in my brain about that. So yeah, I think we wanted to kind of touch on this sense that he didn't really, basically, I don't know, allude to the option that you could be more than one. Yeah. So that was the main bone I think we both had to pick with that. Yeah.
And then we were going to talk about what we would classify ourselves in these categories, which I think is a pretty fun part about this. Okay, so we're gonna classify each ourselves. We're gonna say what we think we are, and then we'll get the other to basically see what they think. If they agree, they might agree. If they don't agree, they don't agree. That's just it. But it'll be an interesting kind of social experiment. So do you want to go first? I can start. So my categorization of you specifically is primarily alpha, because you tend to do your own thing. You take your own path in life. Not many people tell you what to do, or you allow them to tell you what to do. Yeah,
that might fit a little bit better. Yeah.
But you've always been, like, ever since I've known you, you've been like a very rebellious type. Yeah. Which is not necessarily an alpha trait, but it's a trait that you are willing to take responsibility for your actions.
Well, he did say that, the blonde badass in any high school movie. You remember that?
That's true. Yeah, the blonde badass.
I was like, I kind of fit.
And definitely gang-related activities are nothing you've not touched before.
No. You'd mentioned, I mean, people might not know, but in high school... ran the gang, I guess, a little bit.
You started and ran a gang.
Yeah, I did both. It's just, I had a crew, DTB, represent, to our members that are still out there, keeping it live and wicked. Yeah, but, we just, basically, it wasn't as elaborate as the Crips or Blood or anything. We just got drunk and fucked up some house parties. Yeah. So that was that, but I guess that falls into the kind of alpha traits a bit.
Still, you had people following you. Yeah. And basically shadowing your image of what that is.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of am curious, because I remember when I went to, so I moved, obviously, well, you know this, but people watching may not know. I lived in a different city until I guess I got there when I was 3, and I moved here when I was 13. So I had a portion of my life in one small town up north of Canada. And then I moved here in grade 7, so it was a bitch. I kind of had to start all over, make friends, shit like this. But so I'm just gonna tangent on this story because it is a bit funny. I get there, so I get to this school. I live here in actually I shouldn't say where I live because the school shooter, the Omega guy might hear this. Anyways, just joking. But yeah, no. So I moved here and then I didn't know anybody, so. That was that, starting from fucking square one. I got there, I was the only kid with long hair. Only boy, I should say, with long hair. I was the only boy who skateboarded. I was the only one who looked the way I did. I was like, fuck this a little bit. But for the first week or so, I just sat on the playground and didn't say nothing, man. Didn't say a fucking thing. I had a couple people come up to me once and they're like, oh, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from Campbellton. They're like, oh, why do you have an accent? I was like, I don't have a fucking accent. Anyway, that's not even funny. It's just a little weird thing. So
why do you sound like a retard?
Yeah, like why do I have an accent? Why you have an accent? We all have a fucking accent. Anyways, that's just childish shit. But lead on. By the end of the year, most of the guys had grown out their hair.
Yeah.
And most of them had started skateboarding. Most of them played tech deck. Now, I mean, that's not really what I ever imposed, but I guess this goes to the thing of like maybe lead by example, because I guess maybe it would be more of a lead by example case rather than like I was like, oh, you guys should start skating. It's just like that's what I did, and I don't know, they wanted to do it, and it was great. I had lots of friends to skate with, so that was fun. Mm-hmm. The long hair thing got a little more comfortable because I remember one of my friends told me, he's like, yeah, man, I remember when you first got here, and so they placed me in the English class. They were supposed to put me in the French class, and so whatever. I get there first day, I'm like, oh, it's kind of weird. It's all in English. Maybe it's just slow start, whatever. And about like day 3, I was like, hey, I'm fucking in the wrong class. Like there's no French anywhere here. So I got switched over, and then one of my friends is telling me this later down the road. He's like, yeah, dude, I remember when you came here. I was like, fuck, the English class got another ugly girl because I had the long hair, right? So I was like, yeah, oh, fuck. Fair enough. So thought that's pretty funny. Anyways, so that was that. And then the reason I said this whole tangent is because when I come about grade 8, like, I had a few betas, I guess you could say, that were really following me, really doing what I did, and to me, it annoyed the piss out of me. I don't know, like, I didn't like people, like, basically just biting my style too hard. Like, it's okay if they want to start skateboarding and stuff, but, like, when I would do something and then they would just do the same thing, like, within hours, I was like, fuck, what the hell?
Which brings me to the other part of how I would categorize you as, is having those gamma qualities, just being introspective.
Yes,
and intelligent in your own sense,
Yeah.
I think those are the two primary ones. I can't really see you. Maybe sprinkles here and there of other ones, but that's pretty much it. Those are the main two that I see you as. Yeah,
so I'm kind of on board with Jules, because when I was thinking about this, watching this video, I was like, okay, I definitely have alpha qualities, but they really stress introspection in the gamma. I was like, well, I definitely, I'm very introspective, but they also stress with the gammas that they have a need to be respected for their introspections, really. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't really part of my introspective qualities, at least. I like to think about things, but if you want to think what I think, that's fine. If you don't, I don't give a fuck. So that is kind of, outs me of the gamma category. But I can kind of say the same thing with you, Jules, because when I was reading through this, I was like, definitely has some of the alpha. Like, alpha was the first one that rang through, but then the gamma as well, because of the introspection. Like, you're very introspective. You think about things. I mean, this is part of the reason we get along so well, too. It's just
because we look at things and we analyze them to, like, they don't even exist anymore, basically. That's probably the main reason why we wanted to create this podcast in the first place, is because we can just break things down and see how practical they are or impractical how they are.
Yeah, beat them down to their core truth and see if it's any use. That's true. You're very thought out with the things you say. At least maybe if you don't word it right. I'm a word Nazi, but if you don't word it right, you still you think about them enough to, you're not just buying into any fucking old scheme they have. So that's more of an alpha quality, right? You sort of lead yourself to whatever it is you want, whatever field you want to do, and you very much do you. So I mean, alpha for sure, and then the gamma. So I think I was thinking the delta a bit too, just because of you work a lot. Like you work a ridiculous set of hours weekly, right? Like I mean, you'll
7 days a week.
tomorrow. Well, that's the fucking thing. 7 hours. Yeah, I see.
And I still got time for a podcast.
That's true, man. You're a man of many feats. Man of many feats. You're an alpha of many feats, if you wish. I didn't see much school shooter in you. I didn't notice much of that. Yeah, but that kind of wraps it up. I think that's sort of what you assessed yourself.
Yes,
too, yeah?
I excluded beta because the main things of the beta were just following, and we're definitely not those types of people.
Yeah, true. They did stress quite a bit about social grace, really, with the beta, that they're very well at handling people.
Yeah.
And I think we can kind of do that a bit too.
And that's what I mean. There's sprinkles of that everywhere, and they talk about loyalty too.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely loyal to a certain extent, but I think that's very situational in who it's loyal to.
Absolutely situational, right? Because loyalty to me only comes out when you're in a near-death situation, or somebody's outwardly fucking obviously cussing you out, and this becomes a situation where you have to take sides of either that person or side with the person that's cussing them out. Yeah. So these are very rare. I was thinking, what always rang to me in my mind is, when I was living out west. I was living out west with a friend, shout out Hurtado, and this other guy we were working with just kind of started shitting on us like motherfuckers, and shitting on me, saying I was, I don't know, just some stupid ass white guy. And I knew that he was just kind of pissed at whatever he was pissed at. But Hurtado was like, get the fuck out of our house, man. Get the fuck out of our house and leave. And to me, I was like, look, I understand this guy's just upset. I understand this, whatever. And it wasn't really bugging me too much. But Hurtado stepped up and said that. And to me, that was one of the only situations, at least in recent memory, that I can recall where it was really clear of a loyalty thing. Yeah. Because everybody says, "I got your back," and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's really not many people are in sort of any type of intense situation where that has to come to light and be proven. So that was kind of a cool thing, and that's it also kind of clicked to me okay, this loyalty stuff, like you're saying, very situational is a perfect way to word it, because. Yeah. It is it's rarely situational, it is situational, but the situations are so rare where there has to be concrete evidence of it. So I get you with the loyalty thing. Anyways, I just wanted to tangent on that because for me, loyalty, that's how I kind of view it. It's not really as much of a necessity as people might think it is, for loyalty, because it doesn't occur as a necessity unless the context dictates such a thing. Yeah. So anyways, that resolves that on loyalty. So yeah.
Another deciding factor of where you would want to place yourself in this is how you look to the world, how you dress. I mentioned this earlier. Your own physical, how your hygiene, how your body language is. Those are big factors that show what part of this
social sexual hierarchy
that
you fall into.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, because he did really. There was a large focus on physical appearance on this. Yeah. I mean, obviously, however you handle yourself, that becomes part of your physical appearance. Yeah. I mean, I say that obvious, but maybe some people haven't connected that dot. That's part
another
of your
thing look. I think I should mention too. You don't have to be attractive to be an alpha. You can still have all those characteristics and be not as attractive. Though it's not less it's not
as likely.
It's not as likely, yeah.
Yeah, because when you're saying that, I'm picturing a kind of a creepy, pervy looking CEO. Yeah. That's what I'm kind of picturing. And then to that, it's almost is he just a really high functioning gamma who has a bit more self control than what they dictated? Yeah. So that's interesting. What do you think the guy doing the video is? What would you classify him as?
Definitely gamma type, because he was definitely very intelligent. Yeah. But there's definitely some awkward moments. There wasn't much facial gestures. He wasn't very expressive in what he was saying. He was kind of saying it very robotically. Yeah. So I just feel all he does is read all day.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's talking about fucking books in the background.
Background.
Yeah, fuck, yeah. I always wonder about people who have that many fucking books. Like, did you read that many books? Like, I don't know, man. I've read like 2 books in the past 10 years, I think. Like cover to cover, man. And they both been by black guys who both died. Well, that Project book and then the Pimp book. But, you know, I don't know. For me, I can't really read something cover to back. It's just too annoying. You know, I usually read more so like textbooks or something. Like something about a subject that I want to know.
Yeah.
And just read it until I know that. And just read the parts I want to know. Because, fucking, I'm reading that front to cover.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So, do you agree on his assumption that women like more or less the alpha males?
Yeah, see, I'm curious. I'm very curious if this notion, like if this explanation even is something women think about at all. Like I know women probably know the term alpha, and as far as I can kind of conceive, women do kind of intuit things more so. So they know stuff about you without having to describe it as you or I would. Like maybe sometimes our conversations would annoy the piss of certain women and certain people in general too, because they just wouldn't have to word it all that way. Yeah. They could just be like, I know that, but I don't need to like talk about that.
No, it's kind of ingrained into their being. I would say that they can kind of like sniff that kind of stuff out.
Exactly.
Which is what you kind of mentioned with the hypergamy part of that.
Yeah, so we should explain the hypergamy because I didn't know what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Hypergamy, basically, it shows you these 2 graphs, and it shows that men would go just for about any woman that would have them, whereas women...
They're in equal class.
Equal class. Well, I think I'm not too far off in saying men would go for any woman that would have them.
Yeah.
But with women, this depiction, at least, the depicted women as much more selective in who they would choose. Yeah. They really would mainly focus on the top 3 categories, the alpha primarily, then the beta if they couldn't get the alpha, I guess, and then the delta. But they wouldn't be much for the lower, the gamma and the omega. So.
The definition it gives here is the action of marrying a person of superior caste or class.
Oh, so basically... Is it kind of saying that women have more of a tendency to marry up, whereas men marry laterally?
Exactly.
Or even below?
Or even below.
I would almost say I've seen some belows.
It's just the way it happens because women like someone that's more of a challenge. That's just like nature for you. If a man's married, this person must be a challenge. He's already has a girl on his ring, basically.
Yeah. So, yeah, because this was a bit implying that women found alpha men more attractive even if they were married. So they were saying that being married kind of makes you more attractive in a way, in a certain sense. And these are all very psychological things. It'd be very interesting. I think we were kind of talking about this earlier, that eventually we're going to have some guests come on the show and we're going to shoot this shit in a similar fashion and, you know, probably obviously touch on different subjects as well, but it'd be quite interesting to get a couple broads in here and
definitely, because
just see exactly what...
You need some different types of
well, I'm very curious
perspectives on these types of things, I think.
Well, yeah, especially when it comes to men and women, and we're just men describing the men's side. It's going to be interesting to get the women's insight into this and see exactly if these are even things that cross their mind, because I'm very curious with this type of thing if it is at all like known to women. Like, you remember we saw that quote where somebody commented on the video. The girl, what'd she say? She said
I'll bring that up right
here. Yeah, she was like,
wow, that sounds stressful. Glad I'm a girl.
Yeah, and see, I feel that, man. Like, cause this, I was like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah, because like you're just gonna go towards the guys that are super successful with everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense for them like, practically. You know, they're obviously situated and got things figured out.
From my own research of what happens with that is that women are pre-programmed to allow their offspring to survive. That's why they go to like a higher status person so they can.
So they're almost thinking 3 steps ahead.
Exactly.
It's not just like, oh, he's got money. It's like, my kids will be fed.
Yes, and I will be fed, and if he makes a lot of money, I can do what the fuck I want.
Yeah, so it's like they're not even attracted to the guy. They're attracted to the lives of their kids.
Yes.
They're wizards, man. Well, you ever hear Gavin always talks about women as magical sentient beings that can, like, you know, they can birth a kid, so... Yeah, because one of the videos he was basically talking about how feminists were kind of shitting on the social structure that is in place where, men work and then women kind of stay home. Now, obviously, this is not always the case, but he was saying that men have basically designed this system. They've designed it so they get the job, they're the provider, and the woman just gets to, do what she wants. Obviously, have kids. It's not like she gets to do what she wants. There's a lot of responsibilities that come with it. But he's like, we made this, like, we fucking worship you. Like, it's not like we were trying to oppress you and not allow you into the workforce. We're like, this shit sucks.
Though oppression does exist, it's still, like, that wasn't the end goal.
Exactly, yeah. Because when the kind of the feminists that he was talking about, they were treating it as like, oh, this is just a completely oppressive regime. And he's trying to say, like, nah, look, like, we fucking love you. Like, we made this shit for you so you could do what, you could just have it good because we get that level of respect. Anyway, that is kind of funny when he worded it like that. But that's just sidebar. No,
completely. This is all part of that, I believe.
Yeah,
because we're kind of discussing class now, right?
True, the social structure. Because I suppose you'd put socio in there, socio sexual hierarchy. So, anyways, that has that. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have too much more to.
No, I think that's pretty good on that part. You did mention you wanted to talk about something else. I can't remember what that was.
Well, I was talking about, is it the Enlightenment?
Yes, Enlightenment.
Yeah, so what are we time? We got enough time to fucking keep going with this?
Maybe.
We're not going to bore the piss out of these people.
For some weird reason, my recording software doesn't really...
seconds.
It measures, actually.
The fuck is this, man? Some metric system? Fucking Christ. Well, let's just keep shooting this shit, alright? So, another thing I want to touch on in this episode was Enlightenment. Now, obviously, it's not just a simple fucking category. I was thinking what would be cool is if Jules and I both described our... I think it'd be cool to take somebody who's living, because it's like, it's a little more, right here, right now. So maybe what we'll do, I'll kind of run down Enlightenment very briefly. We'll talk about our ideas of it, and then, or maybe we should say who we think is, as close to our definitions of it, and then explain why and kind of beef back and forth on that. So, a quick, vague rundown on Enlightenment. For anybody who's been living under a rock, Enlightenment is what spiritual hippies, shitbags, and anybody who has crystals in their pockets aspires to be. Now, to them, it's a type of mental clarity, a type of self-consciousness, self-awareness, where they understand the cause and effects of pretty much everything and anything. It's like the ultimate mind state for that category. It's very, intelligence is kind of one word, but sometimes people think intelligence is having a knowledge of a wide variety of topics. It's more so understanding the ins and outs, the dynamics, and the inner workings of the universe and you and your place on Earth,
100%
knowing your purpose. So that's kind of the notion that they run with. So I don't know if you've got a definition.
Well, I just threw one up there, and it kind of makes sense the way I see Enlightenment too. A period of new kind of thinking.
Period, they said?
Yeah, period. Because the way I seen this, and the way I kind of see Enlightenment, it's not like you're enlightened, therefore you are achieve this thing, and you don't need to be any more enlightened. I feel like Enlightenment is a process that happens constantly. Like, you have an enlightening thought. And then that provoked you a new way of thinking. And then you can have multiple enlightenments. Whether it's a substantial one or a very minimal one.
Okay, so for when we start talking about this, because that kind of makes it into two different contexts. I'm going to be word Nazi here, but if it's enlightenment in terms of like the mental state achieved, I think the way that the spiritualists...
So like a mass enlightenment.
Yeah, like a master of their craft, like just aware of all the things, whereas this kind of allows... I like the way you just worded it. Because it you can come to different enlightenments. That's a good thing that... I don't think it's said very often, but just because you, I don't know, not everybody's gonna be a fucking master at everything. So if you're studying something and you finally connect two dots, that is an enlightenment right there. So I guess to be enlightened and then enlightenment, kind of two maybe different things.
That's a very good distinction there.
Yeah.
Because like when you see like the Buddha, he achieved enlightenment, which was like the end all, like
the ultimate knowing,
like as if he doesn't exist anymore, but but also exists in everything. That's kind of like the concept of the Zen Buddhism type of philosophy.
Like you know it all, you've already know it all, you've already done it all, so it's like, whatever, it's all the same.
So what the Buddhists actually talk about in enlightenment, the definition here says the state of perfect wisdom. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm kind of on board
that's the pinnacle of what you can achieve as a human.
Yeah, because wisdom to me is just like interwoven with the word enlightenment, just tight as a fucking knot. So I think
first wisdom comes knowledge, second comes wisdom.
Yeah, that's I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
So do you want to shoot first and say somebody? Should we both say? What do you want to do? Say it like on the count of 3. Say one person. Do you have a person in mind?
That is enlightened.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that.
That's alive.
That's alive.
Yeah. If you say Alan Watts, you have to leave. I'm fucking with you.
He's dead.
Yeah, I know. That's part of the reason I was like, we gotta do this living, because I swear to God, if I have to fucking.
No, I would not say he's enlightened. I'm sure. Wait, I would say he would have.
He's close for his time. I'll give him.
He's been enlightened,
maybe,
but he hasn't achieved enlightenment.
Been enlightened by what? Been enlightened his pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so as a living person, do you have a kind of an example in mind? So if you want, I've got 2 like right off the bat. I can run down and explain my theories on them.
Okay. Today, person that would embody what we have just described as enlightenment. Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, I'm not too. I agree. So what should we do? Should we just explain it, why we think this person is, and then sort of dish on that?
Yes, I'm gonna say you go first because I have to go use the washroom.
Yeah.
All those water.
I know.
All those water.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, they didn't get to see in this video. Before this fucking video, we tried to record another video, which again, the GoPro, fuck you, didn't record. And Jules brought, I don't know if the bag's still kicking around here, but he brought a bag of chips called Packy. And now Packy, I don't think is meant in the racial slur context, but they're ghost pepper. They said haunted ghost pepper. Now I'm not really sure where they got the credence, the credos, the fucking go ahead to say that they're haunted. I mean, I don't know if they were grown in a house that was haunted. That'd be that classifies them as haunted. But anyways, probably just a marketing thing, and I'm a word Nazi, so I'm picking that apart. But yeah, they were made from they had ghost pepper seasoning, cayenne, and I don't know, a bunch of fucking peppers. Anyways, he opened the bag. I went up. I think I went to go for a smoke. Anyways, I come back down in, and motherfuckers just fucking flush. I'm like, okay, well, these chips obviously work. Anyways, I tried a few for myself. They were delicious. I've had hot stuff before that just fucking burns you, and it's not even pleasant to taste. These were actually very tasty, so I give them kudos on that. And maybe this happens with a lot of hot stuff, but I mean, I love fucking chips to begin with, so. I was eating the chips. I was like, fuck, man. My body was telling me almost like, if you want this pain to go away, eat more chips. I don't know if the body just loves the chips so much. I was like, yeah, give me more chips. But it's a completely contradictory fucking notion. Anyways, they were fucking hot. We went through, and then you see these jugs of water. We went through 2.5 of these fucking just in no time. Just eating those fuckers back. And delicious. Boom. Packy.
Haunted ghost pepper.
I was just talking about how I don't know how to get the haunted qualification, but we'll let them be on that for now, because they did make a good fucking product.
Oh my god. Took you about a minute and a half to start sweating?
Yeah, like I was saying, no joke, because I left when you opened the bag and I came down and you were like, you're flushed already. You're like, these are fucking hot.
I'm like, I had one chip and I couldn't not have another chip.
No, they're so fucking good.
Even though I was dying, I couldn't even breathe.
Yeah, like, come on, just feed it to me. So, all right, we'll get back to the Enlightenment things.
Yeah.
So, when I was thinking of this, I have 3 people in mind, and I can give the same explanation for why I classify them all in this. Yeah. So, my 3 people are Andre Nicotina, Honus, and Alex Turner. Now, you know who Honus Honus is? Honus Honus is the lead singer of a band called Man Man.
Yeah.
He's since gone solo, does some solo stuff too. So all these three guys, I consider them like they're all writers. So for me, writing is obviously well, for people who don't know, I love to write. Writing is probably one of the things I want to wind up doing as a profession.
Yeah.
So I study anybody who's really skilled at that craft. Now for me, writing, if you're going to be a good writer, you really need to have a very in-depth philosophy. If you don't have at least your own philosophy, your writing is just going to sound like anything else that it can sound like. And so when you have that philosophy,
That's
obviously,
a good way to put it.
Yeah, you understand things at a deeper level because you get to see more inner workings and you get that mapped out. It's not just surface. So for me, that's one component of the Enlightenment kind of weaves in because it's an understanding of how things actually work. Now these guys, what makes them, classifies them to me as this is they're brilliant with the pen. They can take something and word it so fucking geniusly, and I think that this is only achieved if you have a overstanding. I don't really like using this word as much, but overstanding fits because they understand this so well that they could word this like 6,000 ways and then they choose the best one for that scenario. So there's some self-control involved.
Yeah.
There's obviously awareness, like a large chunk of awareness. And then there's also style because they've gone through 6,000 options. Obviously it's not 6,000, but say they get at least 10 different options they're thinking. And they can decipher and determine which one's the best one. And sometimes I'll get to writing two and I'll get one line that would like fit perfectly, but I'm like, if I just throw this little pinch in there, that's just a little more stylish. It may not like flow off it usually still flows off the tongue, but you not only embody accuracy, so you get the accuracy, but you do it in such a way where you get your own flavor to it. And style to me is a big thing that I just respect across the board. I don't know, it's I'll go into too long of a tangent. I'm just thinking of all the thoughts of style, but anyways, so style's a big part. And I feel like those three guys, they each have their own style. They understand words.
Interesting choice too, by the way. With the other two, I didn't expect that.
Okay, well, to me, they all fit because they all write, and they write really well. And to me, writing, at least because I practice it so much, then I can kind of it's easy for me to see the mind behind the pen, just because I know what it would take to write something like that. So that's why I kind of chose three writers.
You saying that actually reminded me of the podcast between Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, which is the person that I said for.
Yes, yep.
And he talks about his book, The 12 Rules.
Yeah.
It took him, I can't remember exactly how long it took him.
Yeah.
But he had mentioned that each and every sentence, he wrote it out 50 times to try to find the perfect one.
Yeah.
For every sentence in that book.
So I guess we're gonna backtrack to the gamma thing. Remember in that video, Vox Deo kept putting fucking clips of Peterson as a gamma.
Yeah.
And a gamma is like somebody who's super intelligent but needs to be taken seriously for their intelligence. Yeah. I don't really feel that about Peterson.
No.
But he definitely
has his sprinkles just like me and you.
Yeah. But that is interesting.
No, he definitely has a lot more alpha qualities the more I think about it.
Yeah, it just kind of doesn't really give a fuck. I mean, Delta too, because obviously he's just worked bloody hard. I feel with Peterson, you really can tell that this is something that he's achieved rather than he was just natural at.
Yeah.
So, some people, and I think me wording that right now, I'm thinking of that doesn't always indicate, it's not indicative of style. So if you really had to achieve something, you get to the end of it and you're like, fuck, I finally know it. But you're too exhausted to have flavor and style. So
he had to go through his life to achieve what he did because he started off as a clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
Then became a teacher after. He's a teacher now. And now he gives seminars and writes books.
Yeah.
And does a lot of political things. He's a very well-rounded individual. He can talk about a lot of different subjects.
That's true too, yeah. So I kind of, is that part of the reason why you chose him as Enlightened too? Because he can talk about a wide variety of stuff?
Wide variety, and he can take back a really, really wide perspective of what's happening. And I feel like a lot of people, to achieve that takes a long time because you have to understand how everything works simultaneously.
True, because you see him in debates and he's just when he's listening to somebody, he responds.
He takes his time
to their level too.
Yeah.
Like you know that he could probably word it in a very scientific manner, but he's like, I feel like he's got a good intuition where he's gauging that person. He's like, okay, this person is this degree of stupid. This means they get this degree of language. Whereas if he was talking to somebody smarter, and I guess you do see this because when he's not talking to people who aren't just attacking the piss out of him.
Yeah. I remember watching that one 3-hour long debate between him and Sam Harris, which was quite fucking like vast. Like even the vocabulary, I was like, what the hell is that word?
Yeah. See, because sometimes
and that was a big debate on like dogmatic principles and how religion ties into psychology and things like that.
Yeah. See, I always think, like, I got a lot of respect for Peterson as well, but to me, he's too professional. That's why, I love him, but I hate him in that sense. And I can't even hate him because that's just who he is. Like, that's how that works. But I kind of think that loses a bit of the chunk of the audience that he could reach.
Definitely.
And see, I can't really picture him in any other, like, way, so I can't really shit on him.
Yeah.
Like, I can usually shit on anybody, but I really can't shit on the things I don't like about Peterson because he's just pretty authentic to who he is, you know? So I'll just give him a pass on my shit. Rare they get that. But,
I can't really think of anyone else I would put in that category of enlightenment.
Yeah.
That's alive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
I wouldn't want to say the Dalai Lama because I feel like that's just something pushed on to that person.
That's that cow from India?
The cow.
Okay, yeah.
The humanoid cow.
Is he actually... I'm joking. I don't know who the fuck the Dalai Lama is.
You've never heard of the Dalai Lama?
I've heard of I've heard the term. I just never looked into it because I didn't care.
I will show you a picture of his face.
Is it the kid who had a tail? There was a kid who had a tail. Do you remember that? Some weird fucking shit in India. Don't know what's going on down there, but some kid was born with a tail, and they thought he was a fucking, like, heaven sent. And,
I remember that, yes. Well, they were, like, worshipping him.
Yeah,
So this is the recent Dalai Lama. I'll post a picture up here.
He's not quite a cow, is he?
No.
What is he, like their fucking president?
He's
or
got
like
a head as big
spiritual
as a cow,
fucking...
I'll tell you that, compared to his body.
Jesus Christ. And trust that guy with dick.
He's the 14th Dalai Lama. So, from my own knowledge of what the Dalai Lama is, he's basically the reincarnation of the same person 14 times.
Really?
Yeah.
How does he prove it?
They apparently pick out the same kind of things that the previous Dalai Lama at a young age.
India, well, I tell you what they're doing. They're using all the old Vedic astrology.
And now that I mentioned that, it's very similar to what I mentioned in our audio podcast about the Avatar.
Yeah,
To find out the Avatar always went for the same 3 toys as a child. That's how they figure out that he was the Avatar every single time. It's a reincarnation cycle.
I bet you. I mean, the Indians they basically fucking invented astrology. I would guarantee without a fucking whim of doubt that they apply some sort of astrological
some
process.
shit with
like
it,
like these guys got to have very similar placements, I imagine. Because I heard this story about. I mean, I've looked up past lives enough. You know, that's something I have no doubt that they fucking exist. People who say believe in shit. I fucking hate these types of people, man. Like, if you have to believe something, you don't know dick about that
it's
thing.
on my fireplace at my house.
The word believe?
Yeah.
Do you know that the word believe has the word lie in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what more do I need to say,
my personal
folks?
philosophy on believing is I don't believe in believing.
No, I don't believe in believing. And if you believe in something, you just don't know enough about it to fucking support it. You just want it to be true.
That's basically my rip-off, Osho, and what I've learned from that guy.
Rip him off to pieces. I don't know who he is, but actually I know who he is. You showed me, and I didn't like him.
Osho.
Oh, yes, yeah.
You probably didn't like him.
Yeah.
You don't like a lot of people, so it's okay.
No, I know. Andre Nicotina, Onasonus, Alex Turner.
Alex Turner from the Arctic Monkeys, yes.
Yeah,
that's what I thought that was.
He's a really good writer.
Yes.
Yeah, because I always imagine, like, okay, if I get, like, published as a writer and then I had to go somewhere and they're like, oh, like, who's your favorite author? I would say Andre Nicotina, which I don't know that they would know right off the bat. I would say Honus, which they definitely would know off the bat. And then I would say Earl Stevens. And they'd be like, who the hell's Earl Stevens? And I'd be like, 40 water.
40.
But, yeah, that's just my daydream. Anyways, trace back past lives with the... Oh, yes. Okay, so this video I was watching, this... it's talking about past lives, obviously. I'm talking about past lives. So it was saying that some girl was born down in Brazil, and bitch down in Brazil was like remembering shit about fucking like granny, nanny, and grandpa in fucking America. She was saying all these words, saying like, yo, this person, that person, like remembering fucking traits, facial features, everything. Like she knew that in a past life she was the grandma to this family branch. So the fucking family in Brazil, I think it's Brazil, I mean, whatever, it's been a while ago since I watched this, but the gist of it is basically this girl fucking from some other country, she comes to life, and it's fairly recent, so she remembers her past lives, she remembers her past life in this family, this American family. So this keeps going on, and obviously the parents are like, at first they're just like, whatever, it's a kid, and then, you know, as it goes on,
it's
they're
like,
like,
a kid.
okay, exactly, well, you know how
You
stupid
don't pay too
people
much
can be.
attention to a child's imaginations.
No, I mean, I suppose.
Well, I think people like us would be pretty good parents.
Yeah, but I'm not.
If we ever decided to have children.
Kids, Christ, the amount of
So,
time that I.
On another little tangent there, I did
play tech deck. Well, let me finish this real quick, all right? Okay, so she remembers all these things. The family eventually gets in contact with the family that she's talking about, that she knows. So, baby girl, born, remember all this shit about family. Brazil finally fucking, like, gives in to the kids, like, okay, we're gonna go fucking search this out. They search up on Facebook, because shit's that easy nowadays. They contact the family, say, hey, look, this is weird. Look at this kid. She's saying that she used to be, you know, so-and-so's grandma. This was her name. Like, this is the name of your son. This is the name of this. She was saying this about this person, this about that person. Family texts back is obviously like, what the fuck? So then they meet, and like it's just surreal for both parties involved, because it's like this kid, you know, people hear about the thing past life, but to really understand how it plays out, man. Anyways, shook them up.
So that's basically like a real life version of reincarnation.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I don't doubt for a goddamn second about
Like,
past lives. And then with this Dalai Lama thing, that's kind of why I said it. Like,
Yeah.
they could probably figure out a little more specifically where the Dalai Lama came.
So I did a quick search here
Okay.
on the old Google's
List of enlightened people.
list of enlightened people. Before we go actually on this list, who determines this? Is this us as a race?
I tell you who determines this. Shitbags and shit links. It's on the fucking internet.
Okay.
And,
let's see if you recognize any names here.
well, isn't that the first one up there?
Bodhidharma.
What the hell's that? Aki Chandra? Half these names sound like diseases, bro.
This is their spiritual tradition on the side here.
She looked like, when I looked at her quick, this woman looked like
we
fucking
see some
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Eckhart Tolle here.
Yeah.
He was an eclectic.
Yeah. Aren't we all? Fuck that means. Gopi Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna.
How will these people go fucking get some new... Who the hell's this Hugh Nerg? Alright, Jules, you're gonna have to take this over. I gotta go fucking leak it out too.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you rattle them off.
First of all, there's so many different religions here, which is super interesting. You have people that fall into the categories of philosopher, Zen master, yoga, Vedas, Taoism, Buddhism. So enlightenment can be achieved across the board, apparently, to this website. EnlightenedPPl.com. But yeah, there's definitely names in here I would have mentioned when we had talked about that earlier. AKA, like I would say of Lao Tzu. He was a practitioner of Taoism. And Osho's there too. He's another eclectic person. Oh, guess who's achieved enlightenment?
Alan Watts.
Sadhguru.
That fucking faggot.
I did not see Alan Watts here at all. Seen some Socrates, seen some Osho.
They put Osho in there. Really?
Yeah,
Osho over Watts.
And one of my favorite
Yeah.
people is Lao Tzu. I like his philosophy. He's got a lot of cool things to say.
Yeah.
Other than that,
did he invent Taoism? Is that from him?
He didn't invent it, but he was definitely like the person that like
The main focus.
he was like the one of the pioneers is a word. It's a good word to use for that.
Okay, what the fuck is that word there? Jainism.
Jainism, yes.
The
This is
hell's that?
Mahavira.
I suppose it's probably Yannism, ain't it?
Yeah, Yannism, yeah.
So is there any people that are alive that they put on this list?
Right now...
They put Mozart on here? I thought that said Nicolas Cage for a second. That'd be funny.
Nicholas the Kuza. Christianity. Well, yeah, Sadhguru's still alive.
Rummy. Rummy is one that I've most stuff I come across are Rummy. Get on board. But this isn't in alphabetical order. Is that what this is?
This is, yeah.
Fucking Kooks. Christ.
So the only person that I seen that was still alive today was Sadhguru. Which I'm sure you have a lot of choice words to say about that dude. He's definitely the millennials.
Who the fuck is? The Guru Sai Guru?
Sadhguru. He's very sad.
Oh, yeah. No, I can fucking tell you the amount
Eckhart Tolle is also alive. And Muji. You ever heard of Muji?
Yeah, man. They're on your phone. Emojis.
Yeah, emoji.
I don't fucking
know. An emoji.
Emoji.
We'll throw some pictures up of these guys that we're talking about here.
Yeah. They're worth their salt.
But yeah. So this is a interesting
I'll have to put a picture up of Nicolas Cage. Yeah. I think we're doing good on time, Jules, too. If we want to wrap this up, we can fucking put this shit in the bag if you want.
Alright, well, let's keep it right here then.
Okay.
Let us know anyone you know that's you would consider enlightened.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear from y'all.
And we'll tell you what we think.
Especially alive people. If any of y'all get some suggestions for somebody who's alive, I'd be interested to hear that. And give us a quick rundown. Because, I mean, there's other people... I don't know if there's other people I would have mentioned or think about too much, but...
Usually the person would have came to your mind right off the bat.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys are interested in doing a podcast with us, get a hold of us, me or Caleb.
We can't just say that, because what if these school shooters try and get in contact with us? Yeah.
Don't tell them that.
No megas, please. I just kidding, but we will in a few future episodes. We're gonna get some guests on, get some different perspectives going, and see what's what.
You busted out the.
I figured I kind of liked that last time. Do you like it?
It was great.
All right. Okay. So I think I'll pick mine, then I'll hand the deck to you because it's good for, and then shuffle it a little bit too. See what you got. So as Jules is doing that, I'm gonna pull up the one that I pulled up. I'm gonna show you the one that I pulled up. I got King of Pentacles. So King of Pentacles is it fits with having a camera that finally fucking functions. I'll tell you that. It's a person who's kind of surrounded by his wealth. You see, motherfucker's got like grapes. We'll put a better picture up on the video, but motherfucker's got grapes and shit. He's holding a gold coin. He's got a scepter and shit. This is a guy who's basically, he's pretty satisfied in what he's achieved. And I could say that about myself for this episode. I'm pretty satisfied with how this episode went, even despite all the fucking technical mishaps. And again, fuck you, GoPro. So, I think that's kind of fitting. I won't dive into it too much. It's just kind of fun to do.
I picked out the wizard from Led Zeppelin's album cover.
The Hermit.
The Hermit.
The Hermit. Well, the Hermit. Hermit might be self-explanatory to some. It's
especially if you guys know me at all.
The Hermit's very an Omega Gamma in a way, or he's alpha fucking. Could he be alpha off the fucking charts in a way? Like
charts?
In terms that he is so
I think the philosopher or the practical philosopher is definitely a hermit.
Yeah. No, I was just kind of trying to draw the line. I guess be funny a little bit too with the alpha thing, just because he leads himself so fucking far and vividly that he's just on a fucking realm of his own.
Yeah.
The Hermit's a very wise person. The Hermit takes time to reflect about life, very introspective. So in terms of wanting to draw back to the Socio Sexual Hierarchy, he would be considered a bit of a gamma. Some people would consider him a fucking omega too, I guess, but really he's not gonna. And I guess omegas aren't all shooting schools; they're just kind of weird. But I think since the Hermit's known about, I would invite the Hermit to the party. Would you invite the Hermit to the party?
Hell yeah!
Yeah, well,
he definitely has all those knowledges that I like.
Yeah, he probably
has. He brings all the bags of knowledge.
Pouch of fucking shrooms
like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
All right.
Wrapping it up. Yeah, that's that.
Go in, bud.
Pleasure as always.
Always.
Till next time, folks. It's been Kontact Pluto.